to WAC Fast Break Extra. I'm Kendra Sheehan. Today's special guest is WNBA coach and WAC Vegas analyst Brandi Poole. Brandi joining us for our second WAC Vegas with you. What excites you about the tournament? We're less than a week away from the start of it.
Well, I just think with the growth of women's basketball across the country, all these tournaments, there's never been more parity in women's basketball. And I think this year in the WAC, obviously we've got Grand Canyon at the top of the standings, but after that, it is anybody's game. And I think there are multiple teams that can make a run for the championship this year.
Starting with Grand Canyon, the Lopes have won 25 games in a row. They have the nation's longest win streak, but they have historically struggled in the tournament. Can this be the team to get over that hump and send themselves to the NCAA tournament?
I think they can. I've had the opportunity to see them in person last week here in Arlington. Molly Miller has done such a fantastic job with that program, and she's known for her defense. But they are leading the WAC in literally almost every offensive category. So, they are playing so well on both sides of the basketball. That team has so many weapons, and they looked really focused last week. So I think, like I said, they're the team to beat. And if they can stay playing the way they are and stay healthy, then I think they're going to make a good run.
California Baptist and Tarleton State right now in a battle for that 2 seed. The 1 and 2 seeds do get that extra day of rest in our tournament bracket between the quarterfinal and the semifinal. So it is an important seed to try and clinch for these teams. The Texans, however, need to win against the Lancers in order to split the series and have a chance. Both teams, though, are playing some of their best basketball down the stretch. What can we expect from that last regular season game that could possibly catapult into a 2 seed for one of these teams?
Well, when both of these teams are playing for that number 2 seed and that extra day of rest, which is so important in tournament play, I think that's going to be such a good game with the regular season winding down. And for all those top 6, they all play each other. So I think it's going to be a wild ending to the regular season, with a lot of games on the line for seeding purposes as we go into WAC Vegas in a couple of weeks. So I think that is going to be the game that everybody needs to start on their schedule for these next 2 weeks.
And specifically with Tarleton State under second-year head coach Bill Brock, the Texans were picked 6th in the preseason poll. Now they're fighting for a number 2 seed in the tournament. How has he been able to turn this program around and make this team a contender at the top of the standings, to which they previously hadn't been in that conversation at all?
Right. Well, they made a great run last year, and you saw a lot of improvement from Tarleton State down the stretch of the season and in the tournament even. And you never underestimate a team coached by Bill Brock. He is so well known in our profession. He has been, he's won national championships at Baylor. He knows what he's doing. He's one of the best coaches, within our coaching community. And then he's got great players that he's continued to develop and to coach. Rossborough, Decoria Long, he's got some good athletes. He's got a good defensive base. I think his players have bought into his system. And so, he has really made a big improvement in that program over the last 2 years. And I think they're going to be very, very dangerous come tournament time.
You look at UT Arlington, the Mavericks have lost 5 games in a row. Of course, GCU and Tarleton State were in the mix of those 5 games. But how can Coach Wright turn things around at the end of the season for this program so they can have a little bit of momentum as they head into WAC Vegas, where we know they have typically been very dangerous once they actually get to the city?
Right. I've been lucky enough to been around Coach Sharika's program all season because I call a handful of their games as well. She runs such a good practice. She's got such good veteran talent on there. You've got Avery Brittingham, who has won a WAC championship, so she knows how to win. You've got Coy Love, who has won how many, 7 or 8 newcomer of the week awards, and so she's got a really veteran group. And when they find rhythm offensively, they are a really, really tough team to beat. So I would not count them out. They've had a great year, a little up and down of recent, some tough losses on the road. But man, yeah, I would never count out Sharika Wright's team and UTA in Vegas.
Something about Vegas and her team always shows up ready to play. When you look at Utah Valley, they're on a 3-game winning streak, but have struggled in Vegas the last couple of years under head coach Dan Nielsen. They have Talia White, who provides a lot of veteran experience for this team. Do you think the Wolverines can be a dark horse come tournament time?
I do. And Talia White is so talented. She can do so many things. She's versatile for them, and she can just score the basketball. So when you have her as a veteran on your team, and Dan Nielsen does such a great job, they can shoot the ball so well. That's, like I said, that 2 through 6, that they're all fighting for seeding, and their records are all 1 game apart. And then they still have to play Abilene Christian and Tarleton, and Tarleton and Abilene Christian have to play them. I just think it's going to be, again, it makes for a really exciting last couple of weeks of regular season.
When you look at Abilene Christian and depth coming into tournament time, the Wildcats have been out without their leading scorer, Peyton Hull, since January 16th. But since they've put together a 3-game winning streak, do you think they have the pieces without Hull on the floor to be able to make a run when you look at some of the other teams that have that depth?
Right. If you would have asked me that a few weeks ago after losing Hull, I don't know that I would have felt the same way, but they have been playing so well, and Coach Goodenough is such a good coach and does such a good job with that team. They're my dark horse for the tournament right now to make a run, because I just think they're playing so well. And when you have a leader like Bella Earl, who is just so impactful for that team with her leadership, with her emotion, and how hard she plays, I think that personally for me, they're my dark horse for the tournament next week.
Looking at our bottom teams in terms of the WAC standings, Southern Utah hasn't had the season that they would have liked. Seattle U and Utah Tech have already been confirmed as that first round game in St. George before we move to Vegas. With these teams that have struggled, what can we expect from them as they're looking to close out this season, maybe looking forward to the next season, but trying to put together a quality product on the floor the last week of the regular season and going into Vegas?
Right. It's hard to have a season that doesn't meet your expectations, right? And I know all of those coaches do such a good job, and I have such great respect for them. And again, it's tough when you're having a losing season, and that's not what anybody wants. But I think for them, it's going to be about trying to end on a high note, trying to be a disruptor. Like, can they pull an upset now? Can they be playing their best basketball regardless through this last week of the regular season and going into the tournament in Vegas, and then ending on a high note so that you can kind of regroup and continue to rebuild for next season?
Now, you mentioned a little bit your dark horse being Abilene Christian. I'm not going to ask you who you believe will win the tournament on the women's side. I don't think that's fair, but certainly should see some upsets. And where do you anticipate some of those upsets? I know that number 1 seed gets a huge advantage by playing the 8-9 winner just the next day in that noon game, but certainly a lot of opportunity for some shakeups, I think, throughout the rest of the tournament.
I do think so. I don't know that Grand Canyon will be that upset unless they completely fall apart. Like I said, I think they are the team to beat, playing so well and so consistent on both sides of the basketball, offensively and defensively. But after that, I think it's anybody's game. It's going to be. I'm looking for really good games. I'm throwing it out right now. I'm probably going to jinx it, but there's going to be some overtime games. I just think this tournament is going to be really, really exciting. I look forward to being there, seeing all you guys, interacting with the coaches who are always so gracious with their time when we call games and spend time with us. And I just think it's going to be a really fun week. And it's March, right? The madness has already started on the women's side, on the men's side. It's going to be really fun. This is the best month for people that are basketball fans.
Well, Brandi, thank you so much for your time. We're looking forward to having you at WAC Vegas on the call for our games and sharing a little bit about some insights as we prepare for one of the craziest weeks in March.